Hey, welcome to another episode of Chiropractic is Sexy. I am Dr. Paula Ruffin.
And I am Dr. Erica Peabody, and happy mid-March, where we are.
Happy mid-March. Happy one day before spring.
Oh, is tomorrow the equinox?
Yes.
Love that.
Yes, ma'am. And this is definitely the time of year when everybody's kind of losing their minds because not only are we tired of the cold here in the Midwest, but everybody is struggling with allergies, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it as much just yet, but it's like definitely on its way in. It's really been that cold, that 5 to 6 week cold that people have been working with. But yeah, allergies are our next up.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, when we think about it, we talk about the allergies in the fall and it's cold and flu season. And now, of course, we're seeing, we got the melting and the molds and well, we don't have pollen yet, but, the molds and everything's now starting to liberate as things melt. And people are feeling that decrease in their immune system. And now it's really a matter of, if you ask yourself, well, if you have the same family of people, why does one person in the family always seem to get hit a little bit harder than somebody else? Same family, same household. So we want to dive into that today. And it really comes down to immune strength. And what are you doing to strengthen the immune system versus actually weaken it when you're doing things that you think might help your allergies, but what are you actually doing to your nervous system and your immune system in that process?
Well, we've talked about it right from the start. And, I don't even know when allergy medication like the Zyrtec and the Singular and all of that stuff, it used to be by prescription. And I think it's really fascinating when things start as prescription and then all of a sudden they're like over the counter. And I'm not sure what year that was, but it wasn't that long ago. And so how we've talked about over the years is that just because it's so easily accessible and it's right on the counter, right on the shelving or whatever, right on the shelves for you to grab, that does not make it safe. And especially that, so I know you have too, it's like patients will come in and they'll check off allergies or asthma or, something along those lines. And it's the body is taking something normal and regular in our atmosphere and overreacting to it because of the level of what's already going on so deep inside in the cells. It's like if you have mucus and stuff coming through your sinuses, it's because your entire system is already filled with it and it's trying to find an exit. So I don't know. Did you look up when it went from over?
I did. Yeah, I did. This is really interesting. So,
yeah.
So Benadryl was approved in 1982, Claritin 2002, Zyrtec 2007, and Allegra 2011, and then we have this Zizal was 2017, Nasocort and Flonase. So those are steroid nasal sprays. And I don't think people really know that. Right. That's 2014 to 2015 was approved for over-the-counter use. So it's really interesting. And again, we can't just assume that, well, they made it over the counter. It must be safe. That is not the case at all. We have Tylenol. It's the number one cause of liver disease. Like, we can't keep doing this.
No.
So when we look at these medications, and I just keep going back to that comparison, is like, it's not the pollen, it's not the molds. And when people say, well, I'm allergic to everything in the environment, and what am I supposed to do? Not go outside? Well, like it's the dumbest thing when we do allergy testing on environmental stuff, and people will ask me, they're like, can you test me for that? And I'm like, no, because it's not that. It's What do we need to do? What is going on inside of your body? What is your nervous system struggling with that it cannot actually help your body adapt to this? Your body is like, hey, we can't overcome all of these viruses and microbes. So we're just going to form an assault on it, and now you get all mucusy and you're coughing and hacking and you're walking around with a box of Kleenex and feeling like you have to take Zyrtec or whatever, Claritin. So we really want to get this message out, because as we look at things like allergy season, of course it's a season, why wouldn't it be, along with everything else? As it's a season, more and more people are going to start taking these very damaging drugs regularly. And not only do they dry up your mucus, I know we've had this conversation, but it's worth a repeat, but it dries up your discs in your spine. It dries your skin. For women, menopausal women dealing with dryness and vaginal dryness and dry eyes, oh, well, we've got drugs for all of that. So when you're thinking about all these things, they're not separate.
Right.
It's all
So
related.
when you're talking about those years, so when Dr. Paula was saying, like, I don't know, Benadryl was in the 80s, but then some of the other ones were like the early 2002, 2006, 2012, 2016. Like, so when they were first prescribed, they were prescribed as a bridge. So that just means, like, if you are having a serious situation, they're going to give you 2 weeks worth of this prescribed medication. And so you would take it for 2 weeks, and then you would go back and be seen, and then maybe you would be done with it or whatever, or your allergies would just resolve at that point with that medication. Well, so people get started. This is when I see allergy medicine come up on my intake forms. When I see that come up, I also know, because they're not given just 2 weeks, they're given unlimited. So now they're taking it 365 days a year. And that is completely inappropriate. But you want to know what? Getting in an allergy attack is miserable. So we do understand why you're trying to get out of it. But as chiropractors and healthcare professionals really trying to feed you, teach you health, we got to go all the way back to the cells and what in the world is going on at the cellular level that your body can't manage walking outside. Like, what is it that's going on that you can't even leave your house? And so much of that is, we'll go back to the rocks in the backpack, right? So we've put this backpack on and we're filling it with the stresses of life. But if you've already got it chock full of fast food, pop, or soda, wherever you're listening from, you're not drinking enough water, you're not getting movement, you're not doing what needs to be done to take rocks out of the backpack. You've now filled it chock full, you're hauling it around, and then, try to walk outside and try and get out and do anything. And if you're having reaction by just walking outside, we really need to look into health of our filtration system, which is our liver. We need to look at gut health. We need to look at, like, systemic overall inflammation and all of the things. And then that leads to, let's just add asthma right into that. And then, okay, now you're just going to kill it with a steroid and then killing the gut at the same time. So I love coming to you guys at this point in the year before all of this starts and reminding you of the things that we have to take as many of those rocks out. We have to just start doing the right things. And it's exhausting, because it's like, we talked last week, there's nothing you could do about it. You just have to take this. It's BS. It's BS.
I think that's also another thing that makes us so special, is that we have proven that the whole, you just have to live with it and fill in the gaps, whether it's your headaches or your digestive issues or anything like that. We've proven that chiropractic, by way of opening up the nervous system and giving the body a way to heal itself, that's not a true statement, but that's what people think out there. I do use, when people are like, do I have arthritis? And I'm like, yes, but we're not going to use that word here, because out there it means you can't do anything about it. In here, we prove that differently.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with this. It's what can we do to start to improve how the body functions? And there's plenty of studies that show that just that a chiropractic adjustment helps improve T cell production, which is one of your major immune markers. And so, yeah, like, why wouldn't we do that? And this is also the time of year, and I'm seeing things on the social sites where people are looking for ENTs for their children. And I have reached out. I send private messages. I'm like, hey, have you considered a holistic path for this? Here's what we can do. And it's interesting because if you take a child to an ENT, they're going to do that environmental test. They're going to probably do the scratch test, which is what, they scratch your back and see what with different irritants. And then based on those, how your body responds, and they're like, oh yeah, you're allergic to pollen and wheat and, whatever all the things are. I forget how many markers there are, but that particular test is so antiquated. And that's what's called an IgA test. It's only one of the immune markers. The problem with that test is IgA is an immediate response. So IgA is like, they're on the front lines for your immune system. And so when your body senses, like, the peanut allergy and the kid that goes into anaphylaxis, that's IgA. That's immediate response forming an assault. You usually know what your IgA responses are. If I eat Swiss chard, I get a scratchy throat. That's an allergy. Like, we have to pay attention to these things. If you eat certain foods and you immediately get a drippy nose, your body has an allergy or a sensitivity to that. And those are things that you start paying attention to. Those are IgA responses. So not that I don't care about that, but I'm looking at taking that deeper dive and saying, what is your body struggling with that's a delayed sensitivity that you can't quite connect the dots on that? And so
I was thinking that time we were out not long ago, and it was like we were having espresso martinis made with tequila, and it was like, what tequila was just used, because you can feel, I mean, all tequila is poison, so let's start there. But some of the additives, like, there's reactionary. So I was just thinking about that as we're kind of going through this, because you're talking about an itchy throat with some food that we eat, but like, sometimes we don't.
My face was beaming.
Yeah,
my face was like red, and like I'd been sunburned.
Yeah,
and I was like,
it's like, that's the response. But sometimes it's just, it's not as itchy throat straightforward as it is like coming out in other ways. So then if we would have taken that and then like added a whole bunch more, like, we just literally have to stop assaulting the body. And then when we do assault it, we have to stop like demanding that assault reaction to stop, because like, that's helping us. Clearly, our body was formed from an egg and a sperm coming together, and that's the reaction that it's having. And so we need to acknowledge that and then make choices properly so that it's not going to, like, we just really have to stop assaulting. So then if our nervous system is already in that fight or flight, and then we added like not so great food, and we didn't get proper sleep, and then we're, overdoing it somewhere else, and we're sitting long hours, and we're maybe doom scrolling, and then we just, walk outside, but we're already like at this red line, and then over the top we go. And how the allergy medication, especially chronic usage, is actually directly related to low back pain. And people never put two and two together like that, where it's like, yeah, you can't dry up this response here. Plus that response is trying to get stuff out. And so we're holding that in, and then it's just destroying everything along the way. So it leaves like wreckage, a major wreckage. And then add a week to it, add a month to it, add a year to it, add 5 years, add 10 years, and you've got yourself a disaster. And then you're headed in for blown out low back, blown discs, like, you're all of a sudden you were running and you like popped your Achilles off the bone. You've got, bone on bone in the hips, and just all of it. It's all the same thing.
And how did I get here? And then you're like,
how did you get there?
Well, you bring up such a great point. Is we are in this society that has trained us to just mask and hide everything. Stop trying to hide what our bodies are trying to tell us. These are signals. I use the term signal and not symptom because I also think we've been able to normalize the word symptom.
Yeah.
But if we really truly look at it as a signal, and so, right, if you have too much mucus, you take an antihistamine. If you're vomiting, you take something to stop you vomiting. If you're having diarrhea, you take something to stop that. If you're constipated, you take something to make it go faster. Like, we are not a chemistry experiment in that way. And that truly your body is telling you something. So paying attention to what it's telling you, and then attempting to find the answer there. And I will say too that, which again is why we're here every week, because so many people don't know about this message. They don't know that what they're doing with that Zyrtec that started seasonally in this now year round, because it does get worse over the years. It will get worsened over time if you don't provide the body with a way to actually improve from within. And we always talk about that. That's how the nervous system works, is it needs no interference. It will do what it needs to do. That being said, it also, there is a diminishing, what am I thinking? Limitation matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, because also if you've put it off so long and if you have severe mitochondrial issues, if you have severe degeneration, if you are severely dehydrated and your discs are all dried up and worn down, we're not going to correct that per se, but we can always get better nerve signaling around it. And oftentimes I will tell people, like, especially if I see an x-ray and I see desiccated discs and degeneration, and I'll say, listen, this took a lifetime for it to look like this. I'm never going to make it look pretty, but let's get it functioning better. Let's make sure the nerves around it are signaling to your body what your body needs, so we slow down this process, so we don't allow this to actually continue to perpetuate and become a major issue for you down the road.
Yeah. I was thinking about, because I grew up with allergies, but I was allergic to cats, but I didn't know that until I moved out of the house, and then I stopped having allergies because we had cats. And so anyway, but I was thinking about the allergy attacks that I used to have. And back in the day, when I was I guess it must have been in high school, I remember taking Flonase and like doing the squirts up my sinuses. And now all of a sudden, the intense assault to my body finally has air and can open up. So if anybody's listening out there and you've done that at least once in your lifetime, it is so much relief to do that. However, when we do that, we just completely unwind what the body did to get there. Like, we need swollen sinuses. We need all the inflammation to be heading outwards. And so when we just open up the airway, that actually allows even more stuff in to assault even more. So then it has this rebound effect too. All of the allergy medications, like, your body's doing that for a reason. Like you said, the signals that we're getting are all for a reason. So then if we take those down, it has a rebound. And same thing with any of the medications. Like, we put a pain medicine or we put an anti-inflammatory into something, the inflammation was there for a reason. So it just rebounds. And that's why we end up needing more and having more. And I totally get and understand going for the Flonase, getting to the store because everything's just available. We have to figure out a different way. And can we neutralize and calm the nervous system down? So when our information superhighway has information running up, down, and in the neck area, when there's inflammation due to misalignment or subluxation, it's already in a hyper tone, and then we just add, and then it's over the top. So that's how chiropractic adjustment can help relieve that hypertone to start with and get you to be able to manage the world better. It's how we have even twins that could be identical. One could be reactionary and one doesn't even have any reaction to it. That's how that works there. So
yeah, and that's It's such a great point, because as we look at the, how bad people get, and then people will say, oh my God, I'm miserable if I don't take my Claritin. Okay, great. Like I totally get that. Just like what you're saying. It's like, if you're miserable, I think I've been super sick like once or twice where I'm like, I needed medication. Like I was sleeping sitting up, and my mother died. That was that whole thing where she dropped dead. But I needed to survive a funeral, and so I had to take medication so I could dry some stuff up and talk to people and basically get through a funeral. But that wouldn't be the norm for me. But if you have to do that and you get to that point, great. Like I totally get it. You've got something coming up, or you're just feeling miserable, you haven't slept. Okay. But then ask yourself the question after, what do I need to do now to ensure that next season or in the fall or next spring or whenever it is, this doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had patients that I've worked with that I haven't even done functional medicine with them, but just strictly with chiropractic care, have said to me, I used to get pneumonia every winter, and I haven't had pneumonia since I started care. And they were under care for years. Like, this is how powerful the immune system is. And I knew we still needed to do some nutritional things, but that just tells you, like, it's really powerful to move the nervous system into a place of self-healing, because it'll do what it needs to do. It will give you all the antibiotics, it'll give you all the antihistamines, it'll give you all the resources your body needs to make sure that you don't fall flat on your face come cold and flu season or allergy season. So you really have to have more faith in our bodies and not reach for that stuff as quickly as, we're so used to it. It's like, I'm feeling a headache, I'd better take something in case it gets worse. I'm feeling a sniffle, I better go get a Z-Pack. People are doing that too. Those Z-Packs, you guys, it's all steroids. It wipes out your gut, which wipes out your immune system. So start asking yourself, what can I do instead of a Z-Pack? What can I do instead of an antibiotic? What can I do instead of this Claritin? And that's where we're here. Obviously we can't diagnose through this medium or necessarily give you treatment advice, but that's where you would call one of us, or you would call a functional medicine doctor or a chiropractor or someone in your area who can actually serve you in a way that your body deserves.
Well, okay. So I want to talk a little bit about, so a year ago, I was in this place where I had this extreme amount of pain, and how I handled all of that is by rebuilding my gut. But in order to rebuild gut, and you can probably give a lot of insight on this as well, but like 6 months minimum to start to get the gut flora. Cause you gotta not only clean up the diet, but you've got to then help the body by assisting it by putting some of the good bacteria in. Then you've got to feed them and allow them to colonize the gut. And then you have to do that a lot and daily. Like, it's almost like tending to a garden if we think about our gut that way. So if you take a Z-Pack for 7 days, every Z-Pack you take, it's going to be 6 months to a year minimum to get the gut flora back on track. And that's minimum. That's like bare minimum. So I would rather figure out how daily to continue to build my gut, build my immune system, and increase the vitamin C, which helps with allergies, increase the vitamin D, which helps with allergies, increase quercetin, like start to do stuff on the high side rather than taking a fire hose and freaking dousing the whole entire house. Because my gut flora right now, after this past year and a half, is finally at a place where you can see it coming through my skin. Everything's like super duper clear, but that's health from the inside out. If I would only be taking a Z-Pack if I was absolutely on my deathbed because of the detrimental effects that it would do. I would only, and I better knock on wood with all of this, I would only be taking a Zyrtec, a Singular, and blah, 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 if I had my mother's funeral, also knock on wood, that I had to get to in order to speak to people and not scare the bejesus out of them that I'm going to like, throw a bunch of
I think
germs
I was
around.
ground zero for the pandemic, by the way, because
Yeah,
I was
right.
January of 2020.
But I would never choose a 7 to 10 day blah, blah, blah BS because of the detrimental effects long term and how much work I would have to do to rebuild again. Like, what
Well,
can
and I
we do?
think in that moment, I didn't take an antihistamine. I actually took I took a Tylenol or something like that because the fever, my head felt like it was going to explode. Like I was in so much pain. But you know what helped me was a friend of mine dropped off Argentine silver. So most people think of it as sovereign silver.
Yeah.
This is the physician's grade. So it's a little bit more potent. And she brought me a bottle with the nasal spray.
Oh, yes.
I sprayed that, and that was the first time I ever used it. So that was, 6, 7 years ago. I sprayed it in both nostrils and in my throat. And within 2 hours, I called her and I was like, that was miraculous. I
Mhm.
can breathe for the
Mhm.
first time in 6 days. Like
Mhm.
it was, and then I'm like, oh yeah, like and silver supports the body. It's antimicrobial. So I just didn't go for the steroids. I just took something for pain in my head. And then I did the natural
Right.
thing.
Right.
So it's amazing when you just give the body what it needs, it will start to heal itself. You just can't start stripping things away because you're going to
Right.
create an environment where your body then can't adapt. And we need to get our bodies to adapt as best as we possibly can.
Well, such a great point too is that, both Dr. Paula and we have succumbed to illness. Like we all do. Our bodies need to go through that upgrade. But I do have to say that, like you said, you took a Tylenol or two Tylenol one day because so sometimes it's like, you're like your body's fighting super duper hard. There's like a ton of pain. It feels impossible to go to sleep. Um, Occasionally, and I mean, this is like once every 3 to 5 years, it will be like, okay, let me just take something to help the pain subside so that I can then get the sleep on board that I need. Like to sit here and suffer so much, I can't even go to sleep for 3 to 5 hours. Like if I can do a little something to help with the pain so then I can get the sleep on board. If I can do a little something to handle that so I can get the water on board, just like all the things that eat well, move well, think well, get your rest, get your water, and get adjusted. If I can do a little something to get my behind to the chiropractor, drive myself there, you know what I mean? Like, so, but it's like one dose, one day, or two doses one day. And then we're not staying on it forever. We're using it just to get the proper sleep or just to get that peace. The other thing I was thinking about during the histamines are one of the greatest things you can do is dilute the histamine response by chugging water. Like the histamines will build up in the system and they'll build up in different areas. It's going throughout the whole system. But if we can dilute the histamines by getting super hydrated, it's amazing what just that will do for you.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think and that goes to the hydration piece too.
Yeah.
So we're already dehydrated. We're taking these things on a regular basis. We're taking other things too. Okay, so I took a Tylenol, I guess it's 7 years ago now. That was,
Yeah.
that was,
I took
that
a
was the last
Tylenol
time.
7 years ago.
Right. But, people are they're
Yeah.
taking doses of this like on a weekly basis, and
Yeah.
they're taking it like because they're afraid the pain or the
Right.
congestion or whatever is going to get worse. And I promise you, when your nose starts running, you guys blow. like blow, like you want to get that out. Your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's getting all the junk out. And so you take something that dries it up. Well, then now Dr. Erica was saying, and now you just have exposed yourself. Your body is now more exposed. You haven't fixed the immune response. You've just calmed the histamine response.
Right.
And we see this becomes very cyclic in people getting sick. And like, I thought it was better and I got sick again. I thought it was better. I got sick again. And honestly, and Dr. Eric and I suffered this year where I'm still having a little cough. It's probably been 2 months. It's probably been a solid 8 weeks, but I haven't done anything but take my nutrients. I got infusions. I've been getting adjusted. I'm getting really good sleep. I'm eating really well. So I'm doing cardio. I'm going to the gym. Have I felt great every day? No, absolutely not. But what else am I going to do? I need to support my immune system. There's no medication that I could take that would like wipe this out, air quoting. I just have to allow my body to build up and ask myself, what is wrong? What's happening inside my body that it is not operating at 100%? Right. Why hasn't my body? So that's the question, is when something lingers, am I under additional stress? Am I exposed to chemicals? Am I not getting adjusted as often as I should, which I have been, but you get the point. Start asking the questions when things linger or they get severe like that.
It kind of brings me to, of course, we have the spring allergy season, but then the fall rolls around too. And it's not only do people go back to school, and then the teachers go in and they're like, the germs are everywhere and the kids are blah, 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 and all of this and that. And then the fall is like the worst time. The spring is not the worst time because we have summer and all the light and sunshine ahead of us. But in the fall, when this happens and you go for a Z-Pack, wipes the immune system out, then 6 weeks later, you do it again. And 6 weeks later, you do it again. And you've got yourself not only a lot of problems there, you've got yourself started down a pathological disease process that's going to be slow moving, but we can't do it that way. Our immune system is not just to fight off the bugs and fight off the germs and do whatever it's doing. It's also to fight off the cancer that's being started in the body all the time. It's to fight off the other pathological processes that are happening in the body. And so the greatest part about what you just said, though, is that you said you've been banking on your nutrients. You've been, of course, bless you, banking on your nutrients, banking on bone broths. You're banking on the supplementation. You're banking on the hot yoga, the sweat. You're banking on the water. You're banking on, your electrolytes and all the things. And because you've done that over the last 2 months, instead of trying to annihilate it with some outside force, you're going to be so much stronger for the rest of this year and the rest of your years. Like, it's not just now. It's awesome that it's now, but it's for the years ahead. I have watched not every single person in the practice, but a lot of people needed to succumb to whatever this virus was, because if you're able to fight it, we're upgrading every time we do that. So the virus enters the cell and it clamps onto a cell. It enters into the cell. The cell has a chance to respond to it. Yes, it's not very much fun, but it goes through this whole process. Then your immune system is like, oh, cool. Now we've got some new ideas about this thing. So when it comes to the body again, we've already got a map on how to manage it. Like, it's so beautiful what the body does. We've talked a number of times. It's like we have the brain and the spinal cord, and that's our nervous system. And we've got the lungs and all of that. That's our respiratory system. We've got the heart and the blood vessels. That's the circulatory system, and the bones and the muscles and blah, blah, blah. The immune system is a beautiful orchestra of all of it. And the only way that we can ever work with it and up level it is by having your nervous system be able to react and respond to that thing that came in. And now it's got to respond. Give it the time to do that and give it the right things. Maybe you can go through a list of the things you were doing daily, just because we say it so nonchalant, but what have you been doing to fight that thing off? help your body?
Definitely hydration. And normally I wake up in the morning and I would fast, and I hadn't been doing that as much because I was curious if that was a stress on my system. And I did notice that the days I would get up and just do like a nutrition shake, I actually did feel better those days. So sometimes, and this goes with the trends, and people are just like, I'm just gonna fast for the rest of my life. And sometimes we have to shake things up. Again, listening to the signals. So always, always, always sleep for me. I'm really guarded around my sleep patterns, my sleep cycle, the time I go to sleep. I do have to wake up like Thursday mornings. I have a 7 a.m. meeting, so I had to be up at 5 today, which doesn't make me happy. But so I very much guard my sleep, and I try not to fight that too much. And then, just good mindset, which I'm always pretty optimistic. And then I'm getting adjusted. I'm going to hot yoga. If I can't get to hot yoga, and I'm at the gym, I'm going into the sauna. So I'm just doing things that are supporting my body. And exercise and movement is a key part of that too. So, but I will say, there were days when I was so exhausted, I spent 3 days on the couch the whole weekend. I just did not have the energy to move. So I respected that. I laid on the couch. I drank my bone broth. I drank water. I binge watched Emily in Paris. Like, I just respected the fact that my body was not in any, like, I would have felt worse if I tried to move and go. So it's really this balance of once you're tuned in to what your body needs and those signals, then you can work with what your body's telling you.
Yeah. I have felt that a little bit too, where I'm like, actually last night I was going to go to the gym. I've had a lot on my plate. I'm dealing with a lot of different things circling around me. And I'm like, I left the parking lot and I turned left to go to the gym. And then I got 2 more blocks, and I'm like, you know what? If I do this, I'm sure I'll feel better, because both Dr. Paula and I are like cathartic. Let's work out to level the stress and keep our sanity. And I'm like, it's going to serve me so much better. I was just going to get and burn out my adrenals. I just know I was going to be grabbing on my adrenal support and stores rather than really feeling fueled. And again, I'm packed to go to the gym after work again today, and I can already feel it. I've done too much that I'm hoping that I'll still feel like getting there. And usually, even if I don't feel like getting there, I'll go. But with the other things that are circling me right now, it's like I can't be burning the adrenals. So it's also a really good point. I still get the amount of steps I'm supposed to get in. I do that at home with the dogs and all the things. Like, neither of us would ever literally like not get movement in a day. That's not in our makeup whatsoever.
It's part of our job.
I know, like, we'd get like miles of movement just by moving around our offices. And so anyway, yeah, that's definitely part of it, is also being very respectful. But it doesn't mean when your body says be lazy and sit on your behind, that's not what we're talking about here. But it is like, we need the recovery appropriate.
Yeah.
So.
And you need to be in tuned to your nervous system. And when you are, you'll know when your body is saying you need to rest. You'll know that that's true rest versus you're just being lazy and you don't want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
You'll know that distinction.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important. And that's what I love when we start getting people under chiropractic care and they come in and they talk about, they're like, they literally tell us things that speak to how much more sensitive they are to changes, positive changes, or even negative changes in their body faster than it becomes a crisis. So I'm like, that fine tuning, that's so key. It's like tuning your piano before it goes completely out of tune. And then you're like, that sounds weird. And then you're going to go, do some concert and the piano's completely out of tune, and people can hear it and you can't, so it's just, we just want to make sure your nervous system is tuned to the music of life, as
Mhm.
that bring that home.
There you go. I think that's a good place to stop. It's
For sure.
yeah, it's just making sure that you can it's okay, so it's March 19th right now. Wherever you are listening, it's probably a couple of weeks before we'll have pollen flying all over the place. I was in Atlanta last weekend. There's like that yellow pollen all over everywhere down there. I wasn't reactionary at all. But I want to just sort of like give you a little bit of a kick in the butt, like what can you do right now to make sure 2 to 3 weeks from now, when things are starting to come to life, that you are handling it a whole lot better? What rock can you take out of your backpack? What can you do to source your body a little bit better? So yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Call to
Okay. That's our
action.
call to action. Yeah. You guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you chiming in here. If you are watching this on the replay, please make sure and leave us a comment. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on Dr. Erica's page, my page, as well as It's All About the Biology. Give us some love all across the channels so that we can continue to grow our platform and our message. So thank you so much, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.